Okay.
I've done this one.
We got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, next the weekend. And Christmas.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Collin County Republican Men's Club meeting of Thursday, August 17th, 2023. Please give yourselves a round of applause for being here tonight. So we do have a lot of new visitors this evening. We're going to talk to you in just a moment. But before we go anywhere, before we do anything, this is a portion of the Collin County Republican Party, an affiliated group, and as such, we begin every meeting with a prayer. And this evening, I would like to call upon District Court Judge for the state of Texas from the 401st District Court, Judge George Flint. Please come forward and lead us. George, thank you.
I'm an Anglican, and one of the things that Anglicans do is we say, "The Lord be with you," you say it back, and then we say, "Let us pray," and everything gets quiet. And in thinking through that tonight, it struck me that when we say, "The Lord be with you," what we're saying really is we're acknowledging the power of the Lord. And we know that as a country, and we know that as a people, that when we honor the Lord, when we kneel before Him, that He honors us with His blessing and His power and His glory. So I'm going to just, right now, just let us pray. You can pray when you're sitting. Lord, in this day of difficulty, seeming craziness, seeming inability to affect our lives, remind us, Lord, that it is through your power that miracles and great things happen and not through ours. That it is your blessing which has brought us to this point. It is your blessing that filled the hearts of our founding fathers with the wisdom to write our Constitution. It is your blessing which forged this nation as a beacon of freedom for the world. It is your blessing, Lord, which gives us unimaginable wealth to do good things in your name. And it is your blessing, Lord, that has brought us to this place to be your servants, to be your leaders, to speak truth and grace in all circumstances. Lord, through your Holy Spirit, give us that power to be good Republicans, to be good citizens, to be good Americans, to be good people, speaking forth truth and power where it needs to be spoken, giving forth love and care where that is needed as well. We ask all this, and I ask all this in the name of Jesus Christ, and I hope you join me. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, George. And by the way, you guys all know that George is that state district judge here in Collin County. And, you talk to those folks down there at the courthouse, Judge Flint, he's getting known as the no-nonsense judge. So I like that, George, okay? So, that being done, thank you, Judge Flint. I would like to ask the wife of our membership vice president, I would like to ask Bridget Cervello to please come down. And Bridget, if you would, lead us, our group, in the pledge of allegiance to the U.S. flag. Please, everyone stand.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Thank you, Bridget. At this time, I would like to ask Judge, I think tonight's like Judge night, right? I would like to ask Judge Randy Johnson, another great favorite, to please lead us in the Texas flag salute.
Please join me in honoring the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Judge Johnson. You may be seated. So as the president of this organization, sometimes I, appreciate that. Other times I ask for condolences. But I want to tell you just for a moment, because several of you asked me before this meeting, tell me, John, a little bit about who and what the Collin County Republican Men's Club is, and more importantly, what does the Republican Men's Club stand for? So let me tell you, with some pride, as a longtime member of this club, I will tell you that the Collin County Republican Men's Club, or as we call ourselves, the initials CCRMC, has a rich tradition and a history spanning more than 50 consecutive years as being the go-to group of Republicans in Collin County. And more than 50 years, actually this is our 54th year, that is consecutive years that we have been in Collin County. And I will tell you that from the beginning of our organization, we have supported the ongoing traditional conservative principles of the Republican Party. Now, sometimes today, they'll say, well, what exactly are the ongoing conservative traditions of the Republican Party? Well, I'll be boldly glad to tell you what they are. They are individual freedom, individual responsibility. We stand for limited government, limited taxation. We stand for the rule of law and not mob rule. We also, in this organization, we support our military because we know that it is through strength that we have peace in the world. We support real fiscal responsibility and accountability. We support free markets and capitalism, and we oppose communism and socialism.
Amen. Amen.
And finally, we support human dignity because we know that all people are created equal in the eyes of God. That and those are some of the founding principles of this organization, and that is what we currently and will continue to support those principles. If this is an organization that you feel you can be a strong part of, we welcome you. We have male members, obviously, but we also have full voting rights for female members. So I encourage you, join an organization, become part of an active group. It was just last month that was the Republican Men's Club that spearheaded. We were out there for the Plano Plano 4th of July parade. And we've done that for more than 30 years. The Republican Men's Club organized and did that. We gave out nearly 4,000 American flags to members across in Plano at the Balloon Festival that was going on at the time. So let me tell you, if that's an organization that you would like to be a part of, see Charles back in the back. He's our membership director. It's easy. It's $25. And besides that, you know what? You will get the most coveted pin in all of North Texas. It's that pin right there. Okay? Wear that pin with pride. So that's my pitch for you tonight to join the Republican Men's Club. Now, also at this time, we have some special announcements, and tonight is no different. So first, I want to let you know that I would ask our membership chairman, Charles, you mind read off a list of some of the guests we have?
We got a long list of guests, so if you signed in on the guest list, raise your hand real quick. I want to just greet you in. Thanks all for coming. If you do have dues, go ahead and see me so we can get you up to date. But other than that, thanks for everyone for coming out tonight. It should be a good evening.
Thank you very much. Now, this club has been very active, and not only just on our own activities, but also across Collin County. And it's interesting to note that we have as one of our board members a gentleman who has been very gracious and agreed to, when asked, to step forward. And he is heading up again one of the most successful fundraising events that the Collin County Republican Party has had. And I would like to welcome one of our board members to come forward, Richard Dotson, who is going to talk to you all about the upcoming Patriot Golf Tournament.
One thing you forgot to say about the Republicans is that we like to have fun. A little recreation. Hello. Okay. Are you a golfer?
I am.
Good. You're going to need to see me right here. We're having a fantastic tournament. When is it, George?
September the 15th.
15th. All right, where's it at, young attorney? You ought to know where we're meeting.
Stonemeyer?
Any drinks?
Heritage Ranch. Really, the good news, Stephen signed up for the dream. Hey, I'm gonna start with that, Stephen. The best gift in Collin County is the golfer's dream. Right? Judge, that's a set of custom clubs. I don't care if it's team, pilots, it doesn't make any difference. You're gonna have a professional, with the help of a computer, help you have a.
Will he swing, Courtney?
Get that worked out.
But he puts for Richard.
Yes. But a set of clubs, this is about a $3,000 value. We're gonna sell, our goal is to sell 100 tickets. It'll be rather straightforward. This $7,500 profit will cover most of our overhead. So if you're thinking about your father-in-law and you need a good Christmas present or a birthday present, this is a good way to make him happy. Okay? And it's $100. So number two, I don't want to be late, but I want to tell you the overwhelming success we have. Where's Abraham? Somebody here. Terry? We're around 30,000 right now. Our goal is 50,000. I've shared this with you before, but it's a beautiful story. One of our top supporters is right at $7,400. I called him and I said, you need to make it 75. Okay, round it up. And the reason I got her, Judge, I'm picking on you again. Okay. All right. He wanted Miss Texas to ride with him. Okay, and I had her spoken with another sponsor, and he said, no, I want it. And I said, what you willing to pay? And he said, what would it cost me? And so I charged him an extra $1,000. Okay, so Miss Texas, we're having a great time. What can you do for me? I'll be a little serious. Do you have a friend? Don't look at me that way. Okay? Y'all don't know this guy, you ought to know him. Okay? Back here, not yeah, come on. I can't even think of your name. I'm having it. You know, he ran for the House. What year did you run for the House? Come on.
Run for House.
I'm the only one here that ran for the House.
No, back here. Who's our down treasurer?
Jim
Ford. Tim, I'm coming to see your moment.
1994.
When did you run for the down house?
1994.
1994. Okay. Do you remember this club? How many years, young man?
I think it's 29.
Right. And you're past president of this club. And you've been the treasurer of this club for 30 years?
Looks like it.
All right, I'm gonna move on. If you know anybody that wants to play golf, or you think you're a good prospect, get them in contact with me. Or with Terry Wade. Okay? She's got the magic color. We need 25 foursomes, that's 100 people. Our goal, Tim, Christopher, all right, Tom, you need a larger name tag. I'm a senior citizen, I have trouble reading. It's like pudding, he's complaining about I don't want that pudding hole to be 6 inches instead of 4 inches, right?
Solve that problem.
Help us read
Richard
that
needs
code.
them at 6 inches.
What now?
You need the putting holes at 6 inches.
That's what I said, I need them 6 inches.
At least.
Okay. Nicholas thinks it's a good idea,
I know.
all right, and speed up
As
play.
he gets older, he'll think it's even better.
That's right. All right, we need 100 players, okay? 25 foursomes. If you have anyone that you think would be interested, Wendell, that includes you, okay? Get in touch with me or Abraham or someone here. Help us reach our goal. Our club sets the standard. So our club needs the largest number of foursomes, all right? So, and women, y'all can play. Okay? You can even ride in a car. Okay? So you won't have to. Hey, thank you, Mr. President. Okay? I'll have
Thank you, Richard. So that's coming up next month, the golf tournament, and the goal is 50 grand. I think that we're already at 30 grand raised, so that's awesome.
Richard's guaranteeing it won't be 100 degrees out there either.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, bring umbrellas for everybody.
So also this evening, we're very pleased to have the communications director from the Washington, and we're glad to have Michelle. Where's Michelle? I know there she is. So she's going to be giving us an update from Washington and talk about what's going on in Washington D.C. She is the communications director for Congressman Keith Self.
Hi everyone, so good to be home with you guys. I can't tell you how great it feels to be back in Texas.
Thank you.
Now, I haven't actually met a lot of you. I mean, I do, know a lot of you. I kind of consider this, club, home. But for those who I haven't met, I kind of want to walk you through some of the things that I've seen and experienced in DC working for Congressman Self. Congressman Self is one of the members of the 20. Now, how many in here have heard of the 20? Raise your hands. Pretty incredible, right? So when I started my job in DC, I'd never worked in politics, very passionate conservative. And time again, I have seen things working for Congressman Self that people on the Hill have said that should not happen, that does not happen, and it has happened. It started in January with the Speaker's vote. During the Speaker's vote, 20 brave Republicans stood up in favor of a strong rules package. A lot of people, that was my first week on the job, we did 1 million interviews. Congressman Self jokes, his first vote when he stood up and said, Jim Jordan, people hadn't even heard of him yet, other members, and they said, who is that? That put him on the map, and America saw that he was a fighter for true patriots. Now, I think it took some time for the DC bureaucrats, for it to sink in that the 20 was not just a moment, it was a movement. And I have seen the trajectory in Washington change for the better. So let's move from the speakership vote, which ended up being a historic 15 rounds of votes, and the 20 were successful in getting a strong rules package. So then let's go to May, the debt ceiling package. That was a huge deal, and if you guys have followed it on the news, day after day, no deal, no deal. And for us up on the Hill, it was kind of like, what's going on? Finally, we hear that Speaker McCarthy had, reached a negotiated deal with Biden. And it wasn't a good deal. And, we saw the bill, it did not have the cuts that we wanted. It was kind of, Republicans folding in a sense. And our office represents Texas District 3. And now leadership, in DC, they expect you to toe the line for your party. But representing CD3, you guys are not really a toe the line bunch. And we knew that. So the week before the votes, our office was probably one of 4 to 5 that publicly came out and said, we will not vote for this deal. Congressman Self was out there publicly stating that. And what I saw happen over the next few days as he continued to speak out on TV and social media, one office would come out, and then another office, and another office. And by the time the vote came around, things were shifting. And now this might be this was something that I found out, but before the House votes on a bill, you have what you call a rule bill that has to be voted on. So it's essentially a vote that yes, we vote to bring this bill to the floor. Now this is another thing that in DC does not happen. If it's a Republican bill, 100% of Republicans vote to bring the bill to the floor, and all of the Democrats will vote no. If it's a Democrat bill, they all vote to bring it to the floor, all of the Republicans vote no. Well, Congressman Self knew that this debt deal was so terrible and could not be tolerated that he was willing to block the Republican bill from coming to the floor, which does not happen. We were watching on C-SPAN thinking, what is going to happen? And that day, the 20 stepped together to block the rule bill, and the 20 grew to 29. 29 Republicans voted to block a Republican bill from coming to the floor. So Democrats had to vote and rescue it to get it to the floor. That takes a lot of courage, I can tell you. Then, when the actual vote for the debt ceiling came, the 29 grew to 71 Republicans who stood up and said, no, we're also not going to vote for this bad debt ceiling bill. So I can tell you there have been time and time again where I believe that Congressman Self's courage has really inspired a lot of others on the Hill to stand up as well. We know the constituents at home what you guys want. You don't want someone that's a pushover. You want someone that's going, to vote their values. So coming up, we have 11 appropriations bills to vote on in 12 days. And I don't expect they'll get through them all, but Congressman Self has signed a letter led by Chip Roy stating that if significant changes are made to current border policies, they will not vote for any bill funding the Department of Homeland Security, and that's it. So I just wanted to give you guys kind of that brief glimpse, and I wanted to read you a statement. So going back to the debt ceiling bill, obviously it passed. We were, disappointed that it wasn't a good deal, but this is a statement that he put out that I believe that he pushes, like he believes in this and we follow this. This is what he said. He said, in January, the 20 held firm until the House rules were changed. Last week, 71 emboldened Republicans voted against raising the debt ceiling. It appears that leadership may just be contagious because the American people are making their voices heard. The tide is turning in Washington. You are the difference makers, and it is a privilege serving you in Congress. Let's keep fighting the good fight. This is just the beginning. We will never give up on America. And that is the message that Congressman Self works for every single day. So if you guys need anything from us, feel free to contact us and just continue to let your voices be heard, because I know it seems like it's all against us, but there is a change being made up there, and it's because of you guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle, for that excellent report. Abraham, I think the county party needs a comedy director.
I don't think I can afford her.
So, speaking of Abraham George, ladies and gentlemen, you know that the Collin County Republican Men's Club is very fortunate to have many leaders within our ranks who are also leaders across Collin County and across North Texas. And as you know, one of our officers is the current chairman of the Collin County Republican Party, and I have asked Abraham to give us a brief update about what's going on in Collin County, and please welcome GOP Chairman Abraham George.
Thank you all for coming in today. I love this belief. That's just awesome, isn't it? The next major event that we're going to have is the Labor Day, which is on September 2nd. And we will have Sid Miller as our keynote speaker, and Attorney General Ken Paxton will be there as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes with the media, but we'll work it out. Angela Passion will be there, Chris Hill, Keith Self, many of our elected officials will be there. So it'll be a fun event. And one of our judges, Judge Ryan Johnson, have agreed to grill hamburgers and hot dogs for us. It'll be fun, some games for kids, and all of our candidates and elected officials will have tables there, and some good old picnic type of setup, and some music and speakers will be awesome. But that's the event that we spend the money. Where we make some money is the golf tournament. So you guys think about that, find some golfers if you're not a golfer, and reach out to me or Richard. Richard is much better at this than I am. So reach out to him, and if you're going to buy a $500 deal, he will sell you a $2,000 deal. So, reach out to him. So those are the major two events that are coming out. Please show up to both of them. If you're not a golfer, we have a dinner. That's, I believe it's like $75 or something like that. So show up to that. It will be fun. A lot of great patriots, elected officials will be there. And thank you for being here. Appreciate you all for everything you do.
Thank you, Abraham. You know, let me tell you, being the chairman of the Collin County Republican Party is not an easy task. And I'll just relay a quick little story to you guys. Abraham doesn't even know I'm going to say this, but about a week or so ago, I was here at headquarters, and I find out that, hey, I'm talking to Abraham, and hey, John, in about 10 minutes, I've got a guy coming in from NPR, driving up from Austin, and he's going to be interviewing me about a bunch of things, you know. So he said, I want you to stay and be part of that interview. So, and oh my gosh, this is why I don't come to headquarters. So, but it was great. We went into Abraham's office, and a good gentleman from NPR. Of course, NPR, you know, somewhat questionable sometimes their reports. But anyway, we had a nice, about 30 minutes or so. We were there, and he was asking all types of questions from what's going on in Collin County to obviously the Ken Paxton situation and other things. And so he recorded us all and everything, and it was interesting because Abraham said, well, by the way, before we start, I'm bringing out my recorder. And so the reporter goes, oh, well, you're going to record this too? And Abraham says, yes, because I want to make sure that what you print is accurate. Now, I have a backup recording of this as well. And so thank you Abraham, for all you do. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time right now for us to go straight to our keynote speaker. That the Republican Men's Club, in many instances, we have been the chosen spot for many big-time candidates. We have introduced many times over the last many years. This is the choice. You may remember when just last election, when we had George P. Bush, you know, in one of his only campaign appearances in all Collin County. Where did he come to talk to the citizens of Collin County? Right here at the Republican Men's Club. So I know that our speaker this evening, now he is from North Texas, from Dallas area, and I just want to tell you a little bit about our speaker and introduce you to him. And by the way, if you've done any research going into this presidential election year, you will see it's interesting. If you look up on the internet, and you can't believe everything, obviously, but some things you can. But many pundits are saying, and they're talking about, well, hey, if you're looking forward to what's going to happen in the Iowa caucuses, and you're looking for like the sleeping candidate, the underdog, and you want to see who might surprise a lot of people, this is the candidate you ought to look at. You know who they named? They named Ryan Binkley as that candidate. Because as you probably know, Ryan has been crisscrossing all across Iowa, and he is tapping into, with the articles that I've read, he's tapping into the Christian conservative vote, the right vote, and a lot of pundits say that he is going to be quite surprised, a lot of people will be quite surprised when those Iowa caucus results come in, what Ryan Binkley brings to the table. So Ryan Binkley is the founder and CEO of Generational Group, located right here in Richardson, Texas, with just under 400 employees, 16 offices in the United States and Canada. The company focuses on business consultants and M&A and wealth advisory for business owners throughout North America. Ryan and his wife Ellie are also founders of Create Church, which is a multi-ethnic, multi-generational church located in Richardson. He is the lead pastor of that church, and his deep passion there is to see church members of all walks of life discover and live out their God-given purpose. Ryan and Ellie have been married since 1999. They have 5 children in various stages of school and college. And by the way, they chose to adopt their youngest child from South Korea, where Ellie herself was born and immigrated from to the United States with her parents. It's one more way that they together show their faith and has led them to reach across boundaries, finding unity where others might see differences. So today, Ryan Binkley is leading a new conversation in his presidential run. He is calling America's leaders to return to the core values of trusting in God and each other again, calling for caring for the hurting, leading with integrity, and bringing hope and healing to our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Collin County Republican Party, who is a co-sponsor of tonight, as well as the Collin County Republican Men's Club, help me welcome presidential candidate Ryan Binkley.
John, I need to give you my schedule so you can give me that introduction. Every time I go to a pizza ranch and there's just 2 or 5 people there, that would be awesome. Sometimes there's 50 or more. Thank you very much. It's so great to be here with you. I grew up in this area. I moved to Plano, Texas in 1980 with my family, and so this is a large part home. We've been here most of our life. I'm running for president because there's a mission that's been burning my heart for about 8 years. I'll give you some of the details on how I got there later. But our country is going through a time right now, I think we all know, that's incredibly broken. It's broken economically, it's broken spiritually. Abraham Lincoln said it this way. He said, America will never be destroyed from the outside. He said, if we stumble and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. I'm 55 years old. I've never seen our nation at a place of disjointed and disunity like we are today. We are polarized. That polarization has allowed us to get to a situation financially to where we're $32 trillion in debt, clearly on a path, unless something changes significantly, to be about 45 to 50 trillion in the next 8 years. It's allowed us to be at a place where we have Republicans and Democrats at a standoff on the border, so nothing's happening. As you know, fentanyl is killing 200 to 300 young people a day. It's caused us now to be likely in another seemingly endless war that we need to lead our way out of in a way of strength with dignity to protect freedom at all costs, but also protect the interest of the United States. It's caused us to have, I think, this culture war this year because we haven't had leaders really cross, or I'd say transcend our party enough to connect to a consensus enough people to bring real change. We haven't had legislation get passed. Most presidents pass one major piece and then they're kind of done. After that, it's 300, 350 executive orders, and that's not the way our constitutional republic was meant to be laid out. In fact, we left a king at one time because of king's orders. We've gotten away from getting together and working together, reaching across the aisle. So we're broken. And I know this more than anything. This is what's come to my heart, is that America's in deep need of an economic revival and a spiritual revival. The only way to get there, I believe this, is trusting in God and trusting each other again, and actually connecting the heart of people, and for us to break barriers in our party like we never have before, because we have the right message. I believe in a small government. I believe in economic freedom. I believe in independent liberty of the individual. And I believe that all these freedoms that we have and that we enjoy, whether it be freedom of press, freedom of speech, commerce, and trade, this is why I believe God created our nation. So we could all enjoy these freedoms, but also that we can be this light post of freedom for other nations to see what a nation that was built on a foundation of freedom looks like. But that lamp has been dimmed quite a bit lately due to Marxism and socialism, debt, corruption that we see at all different levels now. And so now we're in this broken place. So how do we come out of it? How do we take a picture right now, and how do we move forward? I've been to 62 counties in Iowa. We've been there every single week almost since we announced at the end of April. We're speaking with the heartbeat of America. Iowans are just much like you here in Texas. They are just red-blooded Americans, love God, love our country, and really want to see the best in our country and see so many of the values I believe that we all cherish come to pass. And many of us they're just broken. Many of them are looking at what happened with the last election. They're looking at some of the injustice that we see with 2 tiers of justice, with the Department of Justice and the FBI. And they don't know whether to go forward or to hold on and look through the rearview mirror, I call it, and try and figure out how do we fix the past. So I'd say this, we're stuck. As a party, we're stuck. Now this election process is how we get out of that. And so this voice that I'm carrying, I believe is a word from God and how for us to move forward because He gave me this word. I tell people often, I'm a businessman and I'm a pastor. I'm married to Ellie for 24 years. We've got 5 kids. On the weekends, we're busy. We've got a church, we've got life. I'm also an aspirational weekend professional golfer. You knew those out here. I saw the clubs. I think I take that. So right before we announce, really praying through this process and got a golf club in my hand. My golfers do swinging it. Going, Ellie, really, it's time for us to make this decision. She goes, well, Ryan, we got kids, we got life, church, business, all this stuff going on, and she goes, it's going to be a time cost here. I'm like, yeah, She goes, are you ready for this? And she goes, well, something's going to have to give. All this stuff you have going on. I said, you're not thinking about less time with the kids, are you? And she was like, no. I'm talking about less time with golf. And so my golf game has gone to the pot. But anyway, we're sharing a message that it's time for America to wake up. It's time for us to wake up to our values and who we are. And then how do we as a party go beyond where we've been before? And you can't go to a place on a map unless you first know where you are on a map. If I have a destination that I want to head, how do I get there if I don't even know where I am? Right now, I think our party is struggling to find its identity. We only won 46% of the vote in the last 2 general elections. We lost 3 of the 4 national elections. We only won 4 of the top 50 cities, metropolitan cities by population. So the Democratic Party has had an entrenched zone and how they focused on urban America, their message to urban America. The challenge of that, these are the fastest growing segments of our country. Young people are moving there. 70% of college students voted for Joe Biden in the last election. There are 70 million young people, millennials and Gen Zers, up to vote in this next election. And we haven't had I would call it a message or a messenger truly connected to the heart of young people in decades. We have not transcended the party. President Trump, he did a lot of good things. I wouldn't just want to give him that. I am running against him, but I was at his inauguration in 2016. I took a lot of couples with me. I believe in a lot of things he did. I love the Supreme Court justices he picked. I like the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. I like moving the embassy to Jerusalem. I felt like these were great things. But at the same time, there are some things broken in our country and there's broken in our party, and there's no way for us to accomplish some of the big things we're facing financially, culturally, unless we can unify our party first and then unify the country. And I believe that I have the skill sets to do that, and that's why I'm running. There's something burning in me to do that, and my background in economics and finance is I see things through this lens of pastoral and economics, and this is main areas that we're broken. So financially, just so we know where we are, we're $32 trillion in debt. Now the biggest and fastest growing line item on our expense sheet is interest payments. And so right now we spend about 8% of our budget on interest payments. Unfortunately, we don't have the money. So what we do is we roll out the printing presses every single year, and we print money, basically borrow money from ourselves to make our own interest payments, dogpiling on the debt and that we already have. And then we're on a trajectory for this. And here's the trajectory. If I had a little graph, it would be in 8 years, we're trajectory to be $50 trillion in debt with about 12 to 14% interest payments. This is an incredible consequence on our lives, as you know, because just recently, the Fed now has to respond to this by raising interest rates. And when they do, this puts a crimp on everybody's growth. So I'm in the business world. Businesses quit buying businesses. People stop buying capital equipment, or they slow it down. They quit hiring new employees. And so now we're seeing this opportunity, I would call it, but it's a situation that may be close to the way we were in the 1970s. 1970s, interest rates were high, taxes were high, but patriotism was low. That's kind of the way we are right now. Jimmy Carter was in president, and I really believe this with my heart. I think Joe Biden is our generation's Jimmy Carter. With that said, I think we have the same opportunity that we had back then. And what the question is whether we're going to step through that opportunity or not. The opportunity is how do we move forward and take people on another journey than where we've been. Financially, when we are spending now $700 or more a month the average family is because of inflation, and that's after-tax money every single month, and people are struggling. This is hurting people. Young people today can get an apartment in Dallas, Texas. It's about one bedroom, it's about $2,000 a month. So all the things that we enjoy, on average, 15% is the cost of inflation the last 2 years, but only the things you really need, it's much higher. It's about 30% for fuel, gas, shelter, mortgages, rent, and only you need to eat, food. So food, clothes, and shelter is about 30% higher. And so it's really hurting young people. It's really hurting the poor. It's the biggest tax on the middle class. And what we haven't been doing is connecting to what we're going to do to resolve it. So a lot of times we as Republicans, we blame it on Joe Biden. It's easy to do. He's the one in office, and we're impacting it now. But actually, these are lagging indicators. So if I'm just totally honest, the Republican Party has been just as responsible for the inflation that we have today because it's a result of decades of irresponsibility. The American people, everybody in our neighborhoods, they trust the president, they trust the legislators, they trust Congress and the Senate to steward our money. Most Americans, most people in your neighborhood don't know how much debt we have. If you ask them, I had 60 people, young people in my office about 2 months ago. I said, how many, they're all mid-20s, how many of you know how much debt we have? I think it was 1 out of 60 even knew. So they certainly don't know the consequences of it and what happens when we keep printing money. But because we keep printing money, this is why we have this situation. So now, when the interest rates are raised, banks start struggling because for 15 years we've had treasury bills at 0% interest. And so now all the banks that we saw 3 bank failures early in the year, and now we have our credit rating dropped for the second time in U.S. history. Remember that happened a couple weeks ago? And right after that, Janet Yellen stands up and says, there's nothing to see here, everything's okay, just go back to work. I'm telling you, we can't just go back to work. I see what's happening. The perfect storm is on the horizon. I really believe this. In the next 2 to 5 years, and if we don't start doing something, we could really get caught in the storm. Because I really see this 2 paths. There's probably going to be likely expansionary inflation, which if they try and control it through raising rates, will just be weaker banks. So what we saw with the 3 bank failures early in this year is just going to be a canary in the coal mine. Most of the struggles are going to be, I think, with the smaller regional banks across the country, which is about 60% of our banking for small businesses all over the United States. And they're going to choose who's too big to fail. And most of these smaller ones will not fit that category. So we're going to have some issues that we have to deal with unless we do this one thing, balance the budget. I am the lone candidate. We were talking about fiscal responsibility a little bit before we started here. I think I'm the only Republican candidate, likely in the top 5 or 6 anyway. There's one other one, I think, Perry Johnson out there, is calling for a balanced budget. It's such a word. I don't think anybody said it except for that president in the back left corner, President Reagan, in the last 40 years. When's the last time you heard a Republican president say this? We need to be fiscally responsible again. When's the last time they called for a balanced budget? So now we are clapping. I applaud the senators and congressmen for making an effort. But at the end of the day, we were applauding for adding $4 trillion to our debt over the next 2 years. That's what was happening. But if it wasn't for some of the Republicans standing up, it would have been much worse. But that's how broken we are. We can't solve problems. So we're in this situation. Well, most people ask me, Ryan, do you think there's anything we do? How do we get out of it? How many of you have friends, or some of you think, Ryan, it's just so broken, it's just going to get reset? Do you have a reset crowd anywhere that something's going to just go crazy? I'm running so we don't have to have a reset. I'm running because I'm willing to stand up and communicate to the United States of America that we're way more trouble than what any politician, president, or leader has spoken about in the last 2 or 3 decades. And if we don't do something, this one thing that we need to do, make a principal payment in the next 5 years, we're going to be in trouble. We haven't made one, to my knowledge, maybe one time in the last 30 years. That's like this unending credit card. Reminds me of the student that came home from college and he asked his dad, he said, Dad, I want to get a second credit card. His dad's like, I don't know if that's a good idea, son. Are you sure? What happened to your first one? Well, it's maxed out, but I got an invitation to have a second one. And he said, well, son, what's your credit score? And is it good? And he said, I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's really good. Why do you think that, son? Well, they call me every day and tell me my debt's outstanding. And so this is what we have. We got government that thinks debt's outstanding. How many times have you heard them say, oh, debt doesn't matter, just go to work anyway? There's something that's coming to pay here. And if you could be 2 years before the Great Depression hit, or 2 years before in 2005 when the Great Reset happened, a recession, would you have done anything different? And we're just going down the same road, not learning from what we did before. I see it coming. I'm running to stop that before it happens. I believe that healthcare is a big part of it. Healthcare is one of these things Republicans have just left alone. We've let Democrats run this area. So they come up with unique plans, and we just kind of stay on the sidelines and hope they just don't give us a single-payer system. You remember when the Affordable Care Act happened? You know what? That was our big thing. Let's just don't give us a single-payer system, because then we're going to be like Europe or whatever, and that scared us, and we don't want that. I've got news. I'm telling everybody. We already have socialized medicine here. Already. It's the only thing, to my knowledge, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, that we purchase in America, that we do this. We no longer ask this one question. How much does it cost? We walk right into a doctor's office, a clinic, a hospital, and they just say, give me your card, please. You could be getting an MRI, an x-ray, you could have a test done, you could have anything done. You could ask them, how much does this cost? They might give you an estimate, but they will not be able to tell you, because they can't tell you. Because doctors, on purpose, do not know who your insurance company is and how they negotiate it. They can give you an estimate, but you're really not going to find out until 60 or 90 days later. And then we see the bill and go, wow. Well, we don't purchase cars that way. In Iowa, they don't purchase tractors that way. You didn't purchase dinner tonight that way. We don't do anything that way. So this is what we've left over. We're trusting now insurance companies to do a good job for us while we rest at night. And they have convinced America that either we're not intelligent enough or it's just too complicated for us to understand to make a good purchasing decision. I disagree. What I will do as president is I will break up the monopolies of healthcare. They're in 3 major sectors. I will work really, really hard to get rid of the monopolies, first of all, in the health insurance exchanges. There's usually only a few major competitors in every state, and there's this old law, 50 years old or more, that doesn't allow insurance companies to compete across state lines. We need to bring price visibility back. We need to let people know what it costs. We have to put the patient back in charge again. I see a movement towards health insurance exchanges. The reason is because it's breaking. I've got 350 employees. Private insurers, if you have private insurance, thank you for subsidizing everybody else in America for health care, because that's what happened. I've got a friend of mine who works at our company. He's an executive. His daughter-in-law is having a baby. Cost about $12,000 to do that. It's a lot of money to have a baby these days. That was their deductible. Most people have high deductible plans. Our insurance company, they charge us $30,000 a year, and we have a $5,000 deductible. And so we're asking young families to pay $30,000 a year to subsidize the Affordable Care Act and Medicare and Medicaid. Now that's a lot of money if you make 70 or 80 or 90 grand a year. That can be done other ways. And so they said, I don't have $12,000 for this deductible. How much is it if I pay cash? They got back with them a little bit later and said, how about $5,000? That delta, $7,000, is the inefficiency in the whole system of management. As a result, the United States of America spends about double than any other nation in the world in healthcare, and we're not even in the top 20 in patient outcomes per dollar. So 30 years ago, I used to work for a company called Boston Scientific, and doctors used to compete with hospitals. If there's any physicians in here, you may remember that or know that. They would do some of the minor procedures, and they'd do the bigger ones at the hospital. And it would be a third of the cost, half the cost. Now, hospitals own 75% of the doctors. So in my plan, I would get rid of the big patent extensions we give Big Pharma, put the patients back in charge. We have to do something. And the reason is because whoever's got private insurance is eventually going to quit doing it. It only works as long as everybody's willing to keep going on with the game, but they can't. And right now you're seeing other cash-funded systems. People are doing self-insurance now, so it's going to start breaking. So I see a day, I would call it like the Uberization of healthcare, where you can actually see a doctor. What's the rating? What's the price? Tell me what it is. Put us back in charge. I can shop around a little bit because we're stewards. The American consumer is the best steward. When we do that, I believe we can save healthcare. I think we can have the best in the world. I think the Republican Party's got to do some different things. I mean, we've got to start leading on immigration. We've got to start leading in urban America. I'm calling this the Beyond 46. I mean, if we're gonna be okay losing 46 of the top 50 cities, then we don't need to do anything at all. But I'm telling you, it's to our peril. You know, I've been in business for all my life. I look at product life cycles. This is my thing. We help companies grow. Everybody knows they have life cycles. And if you don't grow beyond that life cycle, you know what happens as a business? You die. Products die, businesses die. The Republican Party has hit this 46% mark. Tipped down. Ronald Reagan had 59%. Go Reagan. In his second term. That's how many people he got in his second term. And here we are, 46%. Can we get over 50? Not the way we're doing business today. No way. We're not connected to urban America. We don't have an alternative plan for socialism. Right now, if you're poor today, if you're in urban America, we go downtown Dallas today, and we walk and talk to 200 people, and we ask them, which party's at the table with you? 88% of them are going to say the Democratic Party. And because if you're desperate, if you're poor, you don't know where next week's coming from, you don't know where food's coming from, or you're food insecure, which 11% of America is, socialism can be very compelling. So what's our plan? We have a lot of people on Medicaid, a lot of people on welfare. You know, I'm not one of those people that just kick everybody off. I'm not like that. I have a compassionate heart. We have to do something different. What I'm recommending is we start a job movement. Morgan and I back here, she's our chairman of Iowa back there working hard. She owns Iowa, by the way. She's taking me on the tour. We had a chance to visit Charles City, and they had this huge mural of Rosie the Riveter from the days of after World War II. You know, the lady that rolled up her sleeve, showed the muscle, because there was a work movement that started with women. And I saw that picture, I'm like, that's what we need to start. We need to start a work movement again. You know, we lost 4 million people since COVID out of the workforce. We don't have a work ethic in our country. You know, I grew up Independence and Parker. I had in 5th grade, I had a paper route and I had 2 lawns to mow in 5th grade. Young people, we don't have this work ethic anymore. We've got to teach them that. What I want to do is start vocational trades, and I want to start a volunteer movement with college students, teaching young kids, 3rd grade to the 5th grade, on how to do this amazing thing, read, write, and do math. That's what I have a vision to do. It's time for us to kick both of these things in gear and see some change happen in our country. And I really believe this. Right now, we've a lot of times, I think in the last 30 years, taken vocational trades. I'm talking plumber, electrician, craftsman. We don't have many craftsmen anymore in America. And it's struggling to get good jobs today. These are available. But if you need real work done, you can be waiting a long time for somebody that knows what they're doing. And I think we all know that. But we need to show people that having a job with a real craft where you can come out making 60, 70 grand a year in a couple of years, and once you learn that, that's not a secondary education. That is a valuable skill. You can start a business. You can become a millionaire. I know a guy that's a millionaire from selling sawed grass because he figured out how to do it. That's all he does. I got another one that picks up dog poop for a living and is a multi-millionaire. We can teach people entrepreneurship. We can teach them things, and you don't have to go down this area of a 4-year degree to do it. I want to teach people to do that if they want to, and that's what the mentorship program is for. I think we need to do something on the border. You know, the other part is, I'll close with this, the Republican Party is kind of silent on immigration. I pastor Creed Church right down the road off George Bush at 75. It's a multicultural church. We've got, you know, a lot of 40%, 50%, you know, different races, many of them, you know, Democrats. My friends, they're pro-life, pro-work. They've been here for 20 years, more, 30 years. They're citizens. They vote, and they sit and tell me, Ryan, the Republican Party doesn't really show much of interest in trying to fix some of the legal immigration problems that we have, much less the illegal immigration situation. We don't really have a message for the poor. They just said, Ryan, if you just act like you care, we vote for you. We haven't had people speak into the issue. It takes 20 years for somebody to become a citizen. We have worker shortage problems all over the United States. We have a Social Security problem. I'm 55. In 10 years, I'm going to get 78 cents on the dollar. If you're my age, that's what you have to look forward to. I will launch this economic rescue plan to balance the budget to save us from inflation, save Social Security, actually do something. I'm talking about big policy issues I'm throwing out. I saw one of the leading commentators on Fox ask several presidential candidates, how is your policies different than President Trump? And they're like, well, I'm going to be nicer, or I'm going to do this. You know, it was a little bit about the rhetoric. There wasn't really policy. I'm really throwing out 4 key policy things because nobody else is talking about it. A lot of people ask me, Ryan, what chance in the world do you have of making it? How are you going to make it to that debate stage? I'm just telling you, I'm sharing these 4 things over and over and over again, that it's time for us to lead on immigration. We need a border security wall going from California to Texas. We can't just do 50 or 100 miles in Texas because there's a guy named Gavin Newsom that's going to put a big welcome sign up, and all the drugs, all the fentanyl, all the things we see are going to get rerouted right through there. I'm recommending we get together as Republicans and Democrats and work on a solution. The Security Act has been proposed. The Dignity Act has been proposed. These are acts led by Republicans to secure the border. Another one to have a workforce resolution for immigrants that have been here the longest. I think it's time that we do something. How long can we sit here and watch 200 to 300 young people die of fentanyl and just go, hey, let's go to lunch? I'm going around now. How many people have to die a day before we want to sit down and work together? You're in Congress. Do they really work together that much? Not much. So what? How many? Is it 500? Is it 1,000? I'm like, let me know. Then I'll set my calendar. We'll come back and talk about it. So it's going to take leadership, speaking to things, bringing these things up. I'm challenging our party to go beyond. It's time to break barriers. I worked for IBM at the University of Texas in 1989. I demonstrated computers and was kind of showed them to students, and we had a brand new computer come up, and that was awesome. And it was called WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Does anybody remember that? I mean, that was some old times, right? Prodigy modems. I was the first one to have a modem and an email address. I mean, I was like, I was out there. So we thought we were pretty cool until this company called Apple showed up. Doggone it, I went from having everybody at my table to 2 people at my table and 20 people at theirs. IBM had a vision that you had a computer in your house. Apple had a vision for you to have a computer in your pocket. They constantly were focusing on the next generation. This is my message to the Republican Party. Let's focus on the future. If we lose the next generation, if we don't win these 70 million voters, I'm speaking to the young Republicans tomorrow, if we don't get young people engaged in our party, we've lost not just losing elections, we're losing our country. There's a whole other message of socialism that is rampant. They get converted. Democrats have a funnel system of new voters called college students. So we've got to recognize that. What are we going to do? We're going to roll the same old message out, same old divisive rhetoric, think we're going to win them over? I'm not going to. It's going to take us believing in faith and doing something different, believing in God for our country, and it's going to take a move. But I believe in God, and I believe in faith, and I believe God can do some things when we as a party decide to do some things. I got baptized in Iowa politics about 2 months ago. It's all these little pizza ranches everywhere you go to. They have little rooms you can meet in. I mean, breakfast, donut shops, you name it. Small meetings, 2 people, 10, 100, you never know. 5 a day, 6 a day, 8 a day some days, 14-hour days. I'm worn out all the time. I mean, it's crazy. But I go to this one, and we're like running late, and we decide to take a shortcut. And so we get on these, everything's country, everything's cornfield. It's unbelievable. Have you ever been to Iowa? No. It's cornfield everywhere. So we take a shortcut, we get on a gravel road, it turns into a dirt road, and it had rained on the other side of the hill. They've been praying for rain. So God answered their prayer. But anyway, we started fishtailing a little bit, and then we see this another hill, and we're like, gas it, try and get up it. We can't, we get halfway up, and then we slide back down in the ditch. I'm in a suit just like this. I'm speaking with the governor that night, 4 hours later. I'm the only Republican candidate there. I'm trying to, get my name out there, and I am stuck. I get out of the car, I'm this much in mud. I'm going, dear God, I'm praying. How am I going to get out of here? If a tow truck was right there, there's no way it could have got it out. It was too much mud. A friend of mine walks up the hill, because all you see is miles. It's just cornfields everywhere. He walks up the hill, and a lady stopped in a white pickup, rolled down her window and said, can I help you? And her name was Faith. Faith had a friend that had a tractor. Within 45 minutes we were pulled out. I made it to that pizza ranch. I was 45 minutes late. This is what I love about people that love their country. You included, Iowans included. I can feel the same spirit. They all stayed. 12 people stayed to hear me say my message. I made it on time to the governor. There was a Shelby County, there's a shoe store in the corner. I walked in and said, you got a size 12 black? They said, I got one pair. These right here, $95. And this is what I'm telling America. It's time for us to believe again. It's time for us to have faith. Faith in God, faith in each other. We can go beyond what we've been. We don't have to keep doing the same. It's going to take a step of faith to believe in something different. I was going to get somebody to get my photo over here with President Trump, telling me that, Ryan, we need you, but it's going to take faith to vote for something different. It's like, you know what you get, but you know what you get. And I'm asking us to go for something else. I'm in it for the next generation.
We have time for questions. There were several people who had told me they got questions, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take individual questions. We're gonna let each person ask one question, and if you got more than one question, that's okay, but you'll have to wait till everybody else gets to ask theirs too. So I see a hand up right there, Carl.
Well, it says right here on your card, Ryan, that you need 40,000 donations. How close are we?
Good question. We've been getting 3,000 to 5,000 a day lately. So it took us 2 months to get 22,000. And then we started hitting 1,000 a day, then 2,000 a day. Keith would probably know the exact number, 32,000, 34, 35.
35,000.
So, but we expect how many to come in tomorrow? Like we're expecting 7,000 or 8,000 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Pray FedEx shows up on time. We have a team of field workers. We've had our best success by door knocking and grassroots movement. Tom, how you doing? I want to introduce you to Ryan. Would you tell them our story? Would you give $1, $5, small dollar donations? We've had our best success that way. So we've got a team out there doing it, and then they're FedExing these things in. So we have till Monday to get these in, and pray we'll make it. And then we obviously need the polls to get the debate as well. So if anybody calls you tomorrow, I tell people this. I said we want you to pray, but we want you to give first. Anyway, if they call you tomorrow, just say, I'm thinking about Ryan, and because we need polling. But anyway.
Ryan, tell them why that's so important and what your goal is and why.
You know, so this is the first Republican debate, I guess ever, that we put stipulations to be on that debate stage where you have to have 40,000 unique donors, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're married, that's 2. 40,000, and then you have to be polling 1%. And that's a bit of a challenge because, you know, I'm not a 40-year-old politician. I'm not a billionaire. God's blessed me, but I don't got $500 million to do on the national program. And so this is a grassroots movement. So it's harder for me and to do this, but I'm doing it because I really believe God told me to go all in on it. So that's what I'm doing.
So it can't get to a balanced budget year one.
No.
So what's your first year budget look like that's gonna get us?
You know, so I'm throwing a target out there. Target that basically freezes spending, not across the board, but categorically from last year's spending. So we can't freeze Social Security, but I want to peg it to GDP. I want to freeze Medicaid and Medicare because I believe I can transform it through some of the things I talked to you about. I want to cut 2% of non-defense discretionary spending, and I believe I can get there with it. It's going to be negotiating. It's going to be talking to America. I'm going to have to look what Trump did with Twitter. I'm going to have to do with YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, talk to America of why us cutting something matters, because we haven't done it in 30 years. It's like not in our culture.
Are there any departments in Washington that you would look to cut more than 2%?
Yes,
Or
of
you
course.
eliminate?
No, I plan on cutting them all. Those departments will get cut. I don't know what the number is. Well, I'm going to take a business approach to all of it, like a lean manufacturing approach. So through all you guys in the Department of Education, we're going to find out which jobs are really needed and which ones aren't, and lead. We can't afford to have hundreds of thousands of employees if you don't know exactly what they're doing, and you know, just run it like a business. That said, I'm not for cutting everything. Some of my colleagues are like, I'm going to cut FBI, I'm going to cut CIA, I'm going to cut the Department of Education. You get a lot of problems. Yeah, but I'm thinking this, you know. We got to be careful in that, to me. You know, 2 years ago, we were upset at all the Democrats that wanted to defund the police. Remember that? Because there's a couple bad policemen. And now we've got a couple bad leaders in the FBI. So we're like, defund the whole thing. So I'm not in favor of that. I'm a president. I've got 5 big, pretty decent-sized companies underneath me. If I got a bad culture, I get rid of the president. I'm going to fire all the employees. And so, but they all need to be trimmed.
I have an easy question for you.
Sure.
I was born and raised in Potawatomi County. I just want to know how it's doing.
Potawatomi, I've been there. We've been there, haven't we?
Yeah, we're
How
gonna be
it all
back.
passed.
How's it doing?
Early
I've been
September.
to 2/3 of the counties. So, you know, they all run
Potawatomi
together.
Council Bluffs.
Oh, we've been there.
Omaha, Nebraska, right there
Yeah.
across the
Yeah, yeah.
river. That's right.
No, we visited there. It's doing good.
Omaha's a suburb.
Yeah.
That's a strong Christian conservative area, so we need to do really well there. Any other questions?
I noticed that you can make an online donation here also.
Yep.
I reckon we could all do that, right?
You can use a QR code. We've had a lot more success with the envelopes because Those QR codes are, sometimes if you're not used to using them, it can be kind of tricky, but obviously we'd love you to consider donating.
Yeah, right on the card is a QR code.
Donation is $1, you know?
Dollar more.
We say you can give somewhere between $1 million and $1. That's a joke. Max is 6,600. And yeah, we have a couple hats. We have a Believe hat, and we give away gear because we want you walking around and having fun. And starting in conversation, the WTF hat is our way to freedom. That's our campaign speech, and a lot of our young people said, "Hey, that's a funny acronym." And but if you've ever wondered what's going on out there and asked that question, a lot of our young people, it's 80% like the red hat. There are a lot of them. It's a conversation starter. They love it. So. Yeah.
All right, so you mentioned that the GOP is stuck, the nation is stuck. You can't get past election integrity without people feeling disenfranchised. I haven't heard you talk about election integrity. You got Arizona, you got Georgia, you got all these places where it's on film. Your thoughts on the elections?
Yeah, so this is very, very controversial. I mean, right now you have people based on who you listen to and who you hear. Because not only does every state do it different, every county does it. So every county does it different. I'm for Republicans owning the elections and being and watching every single polling. We need to be involved in that. The only way that you can have election integrity is if we're all engaged in watching it. I believe there should be a computer thing that's not connected to the internet, and I think there should be a paper ballot that spits out with it so you've got a dual verification. I can't believe we don't do this. I mean, at every single business I have, we've got bank statements and we've got this, and then there's a way to, if we get audited, you get a chance to go through that. I don't see the audited process being real well. Whether they're stolen or not, if that's your question, or how can I lead that, there's nothing we can do about what happened in the past. And then no significant changes happened in Georgia or any of these places about it. And these governors certified them. At the end of the day, it's up to Republicans to get in there and watch it. I can sit there and I see question marks. I saw question marks when Pennsylvania changed the rules. I think that's what makes us all speculative. I see big tech influencing that probably more than anything, in my opinion. So I don't know that I've got an answer. There is no national election on the horizon in the United States of America. It needs to be state run. We don't want a national election. We don't want a national, because that would make it even worse. If it can be attacked at a state level or a county level, just wait till we become national. So I can only say is every county's got to own it. That's the only thing I know to do.
You said,
Unless you're asking me, I don't know what you're asking me. Yes,
I'm
what I should
asking
do.
you your thoughts on
Do you think I think it was
the
stolen?
elections.
Do you think I think it was stolen? Is that specific?
Well, now that you asked that,
No.
yes. Okay.
No, I don't. I do think there was possible fraud, but there's no proof and evidence that I have seen that says 6 states could have got overturned. Now, I'd be open to see it, but I haven't seen enough for that. So.
You said U.S. we haven't paid our principal in 30 years.
One time.
So all these years, we've been paying, increasing debt ceiling, was all for industry and the inflation.
No, for the deficit. So we have about $1.5 trillion deficit a year right now. We spend 6.2, we bring in 4.9, maybe more. So we just increased the debt ceiling $4 trillion for the next 2 years.
And we're expected to have 50 trillion by.
Just do the math. If we add 1.5, 2 trillion a year for the next 8 years, we're gonna get there. And interest rates are going up, not down. So it's going to be the largest item on our expense. We'll be spending more on interest payments than the military in 6 or 7 years.
You support a path for citizenship for all illegal immigrants or deportation of all illegal?
No, so the answer is no amnesty. The act that I'm looking at right now, the Dignity Act, which is a combination with the Security Act, what it does is it takes everybody that's come in the last 5 years and gives them no reason to stay. So if it gets enacted in a year or two and they were kind of open during Biden's open border, I would call it, there's no really room for them to stay. We need to find out what worker needs to have here and let the people that have been here the longest. And basically the principle of the act is, first of all, to secure the border. So it only works if there's a secure border, which allows for $30 billion. And Democrats and Republicans are getting on board with it, 2 by 2 basically. They're using the Noah Ark strategy. This is Maria Salazar out of Florida that's launched this. It's not easy because it's different. At the end of the day, this is going to be us deciding what's the right thing to do. So this particular one, within sanctuary cities though, ends catch and release, so it requires E-Verify for every business, every single one. So there's nowhere to hide. Like Ron DeSantis in Florida, he only required it for businesses 25 employees and above, which means that, we could create small LLCs and have 2 of them with 50 employees and not required. So this gets rid of that. Everybody's got to have E-Verify, so that ends these sanctuary cities across the board. But I think it's a good plan. It's a good start because we have to secure the border. And this is what I've come to realize. Republicans can't secure the border on their own. It's going to take money. I can put the military there, like Trump, everybody wants to, they're just saying, I'm going to put the military there. But that is a Band-Aid. The reason it's a Band-Aid is because what's going to happen when the Republicans not in office? I mean, we're going to act like we're going to hold office for the next 40 years. That'd be great. I think we could if we do the right thing, possibly. But it's not likely.
How are you on foreign aid in Afghanistan?
Well, I think we made a huge mistake by getting out of Afghanistan and running out there the way we did. I certainly wish we would have stayed there at some level. That was a huge base for us in that area. You know, if you're asking about Ukraine, I want to believe that our country can be economically responsible and help aid whenever we can. We have to take care of ourselves here, otherwise we won't be able to lead internationally. So right now, because of the debt we're in, let's just take China or take Russia, they're not even listening to us today. Joe Biden's been trying to get on the phone call with Xi Jinping for 9 months or 3 months. I know because I've been counting down the days. He's not calling him back. It's because we're weak. We're weak financially. They're trying to exchange their currency from the U.S. dollars places, the world's reserve currency. You know, our foundation's got cracks in it. You know, 10 years ago, 70% of international trades were done with the U.S. dollar. Now it's 58, 59%, and it's going down. It's not going up. So China is. You know, they're loaning money to Brazil, Russia, India, and also Latin America, Eastern Europe, and Africa. We're borrowing money. We're not. They have a 40 to 50% debt to GDP ratio. We're 120% debt to GDP ratio. Now, their people are suffering. You know, their people aren't prospering. They don't have social programs there. They don't have a lot of debt. That's what I was going to do. So I'm for getting out of the war as soon as I can. I'm not for allowing Putin to go run through Europe at all. I think we have to stop him, but we need to work on ending the war. That's what I was trying to do.
Where do you stand on nuclear energy and energy independence?
I would like to expand nuclear energy every way we could. It's part of the solution. We have to be energy independent, otherwise we will not be able to balance our budget. So we got to be able to use, you know, ethanol fuel, you know, renewable biofuels, everything we can to help solve the problem. We need to be, you know, expand the Keystone Pipeline, expand energy production.
Do you support repealing the Patriot Act?
Patriot Act. You have to remind me of what's in it.
It created the giant monstrosity surveillance state that we all live in now.
I'd have to look further at it, but since you described it that way, likely so. I mean, that's not my thought process. I mean, I need to look into it further.
You mentioned the younger generations coming up. I know you have your pillars that you're focused on, but as far as schools are concerned, colleges and universities that are government state funded, how do you look at those and what we have with education issues that we keep seeing coming up through the education process?
You know, I'm primarily focused on K through 12 right now because when I was growing up, we were top 2 or 3 in the nation and the world. Now we're not even in the top 20. So I'm primarily focused on that. The big problem to me with the universities is how much they cost. I mean, it's I don't know, 70% higher than regular inflation or something crazy for the last 10 years. I think that's up to us to sit there and own and figure that out. Whether they're taking in too many students abroad, or the demand is too high, I'm not for sure. But I'm really focused on the primary, you know, education through K through 12 because we've got to fix that. Somebody asked me, Ryan, how are we going to bring jobs back? And I'm like, you know, I can do some reshoring here. We can do some tax incentives, you know, get jobs back, manufacturing back. I mean, we've made a lot of mistakes in the last 30 years that have allowed China to take over all the manufacturing really. We've made some mistakes. But at the end of the way, the best way, long term, I'm talking 20, 30-year plan, for us to be strong is to create brilliant kids. Kids that can compete on the world stage with India, with China, technology and software engineering, doing some very difficult jobs, and we're falling behind.
What's your sense on school choice?
Love it. Parents involved. We should have it. I think every state should have it.
What does that look like to you?
You know, whatever the states decide, obviously it's a state issue, but I'm very much in favor of it. So every state's got to make that decision on their own. That's not a national issue. but I would lead that way, and I'd encourage states, and I would speak to that. But we've got kids that are failing in some of these schools over here, no way out. They should be able to get out of that and go to a school that benefits them best. And we're at a place where doing what we're doing is not working.
So in my school, first grade, we let the families that live in the neighborhood have taken their kids out, and our schools, principals have not enough kids. So she started a program for Spanish speaking only kids. They don't speak English at all. They don't learn any English at all. They only learn Spanish. So this year, my first grader is going to school with 45 English speaking kids and 28 non-speaking English kids, and we're now on Title I. So now they're sending us money, but that only staff employs one person who speaks Spanish. And all the family members that can leave, the good families that are contributing, they're leaving.
I mean, this is where our country is when the immigration system is so broken. You know, right now, we're basically giving all these families amnesty. We're paying for the kids to be educated, we're paying for their health care.
Their housing.
And some of them are paying taxes if they stole the Social Security card or whatever, but most of them have some sort of whatever that they're not doing it that way. And their kids are here and they're not even necessarily contributing. That's one reason we have to make this decision. You know, I also think this, I mean, of course we want to help these kids.
Yeah,
Here.
they're here.
We're not doing anything about it. We need to educate them. But they're also bringing down, because it takes teachers time away to try and teach them, and there's other kids trying to teach them English I've heard this all over America that I go to. So it's a big problem. I mean, states are gonna have to start taking ownership here. I could see it changing, you know, with the advent of new schools, private schools, you know, it'll eventually fix itself. A free market system where there's good teachers, good programs, teaching kids, private schools.
Ron, we have time for one more question.
You say you live in Iowa, farm country,
Yes, ma'am.
our farms are maternal. How would you help them?
You know, I ask farmers this all the time. What can we do? What can I do as president to help you? You know what the number one answer I get? Get out of the way. Quit all the department of agriculture, all the overburdened, you know, hoops they have to go through all the time, and let the free market system work. Many of them, farmers want to be able to, you know, have an inflationary environment that's stable. I just spoke with one the other day, said, Ryan, my crops are fine, everything's fine, prices are stable, but all my costs, fuel, labor, everything's up 30%, so I'm not gonna make any money this year. That's because we are being a poor steward of their money. We keep spending too much.
Final questions from Paul right here.
Yeah. Ryan, I have an easy question for you.
Thank you.
So how do you think about GA6?
G6?
GA6.
Oh,
J.
J6. Oh! Well, I got a lot of thoughts on that. I want to start with, you know, I believe everybody that's in jail for that right now is due process, which I don't think we have. You know, it's a mixed bag on that. I think it's also going to go down as a very, very bad day in history. You know, I think there's any question about that. You know, I would have led that much different as president. I don't think that day should have happened. Kind of it. I know some people there that day, I could comment further, that didn't go down to the Capitol. It was one of those beautiful days they said they've had. It's a day of worship, a day of prayer. And I hate the fact some people in jail that maybe shouldn't be, but I think it could have been led differently. That's my opinion.
Ladies and gentlemen, how about
if you guys want a ball cap or anything like that, a small dollar donation, pick up any hat you want. You don't have to pay for it. Just even $1. We want to give you a gift. All you gotta do is take a picture of it and tag us on social media, whatever. Great to meet you guys. I'll be here afterwards if you have any more questions.
Ryan, just know you're welcome anytime. We
Thank
appreciate you being here. And as one pundit said, you know, Ryan Binkley could well be the Jimmy Carter of 2024. So we know how Jimmy Carter turned, you know, from an unknown and shocked everybody in the Iowa caucuses, and then went on to become president. So Thank you for being here. By the way, I just want you to know that one lucky person tonight is going to be in our drawing, is going to receive a Ryan Binkley personal autograph 24 hat. And so, like we just said, if he follows Jimmy Carter's footsteps as next president, that hat's going to be worth quite a bit of money. All right, so we have just two things left to do for this meeting this evening, and that is we want to make sure that we recognize all those individuals here who are either current office holders or who are running for office. We'd like you to come forward and introduce yourself and just take just a moment to talk about whatever you'd like, whether or not it might be your qualifications or if there's a particular issue you have. But we want to encourage you right now to come forward and be recognized. And we're going to start off. Randy, would you start since you're an elected judge, and come on up and tell us about that.
Good evening, Randy Johnson. I am proud to serve you and humbled also by having been elected to serve you as judge of Collin County Court of Law number 5. I am not on the ballot, which is great because I'm enjoying the job. It's not work if you love it. And we're doing I think I've got a really good staff. I think I'm the best staff in the courthouse, but I'm sure there's some other judges here who will tell you the same thing. We're doing the work y'all elected us to do. Thank you for the opportunity to do that.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ellen Skinner. I am not running for anything. Usually when I'm standing up here, I'm running for something. I was elected a year ago, a little less than a year ago, to Justice of the Peace, Precinct 2, eastern side of Collin County, and I'm so glad to be there. I am like Judge Johnson. I work with great people, and it is, I think, a very nicely kept secret what a good job that is. So, anyway, good to see everybody.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott Grigg, and I'm running to be your next Collin County tax collector. I have over 35 years of experience in finance, audit, and accounting, including 6 years boots on the ground within our tax office as both an auditor and the finance manager there. So to give the experience that Collin County needs and they deserve, just remember Scott Grigg for tax collector 2024. For specifics, I'd love to sit down and talk to you, but I know it's warm. We all want to get out of here and get home to the cool air AC. So just remember Scott Grigg in 2024. Thank you, guys.
So ladies and gentlemen, we're almost ready for that famous drawing, but before we do that, we got another individual who I know is running for state representative.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. My name is Steve Kennard. I'm a candidate for Texas House District 70, which we are in right now. And I decided to run because I'm a native Texan. I'm a father. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a conservative Christian. We've made the decision to homeschool for our family, but that's not always available to everybody. I believe that parents should always be the primary decision makers in education. We need education freedom to be universal. The governor, Governor Abbott, is leading on that front, and I want to be an ally in the House to make sure that Texans and parents have that right. I'm also an entrepreneur from the oil and gas industry. I believe in energy abundance, and I believe in energy innovation. We shouldn't have to live every summer in Texas wondering whether or not the grid's going to collapse. That's a disgrace. We can correct that. We're blessed with abundant resources. I've been part of that industry. I've been advocating in Austin for grid resiliency and innovating with next generation data centers. So I believe I bring that differentiated experience to deliver those kinds of real results. I'd love to answer any questions that you have. I look forward to working for you and being a resource for this community. Thank you. Good.
Good evening. My name is Dwayne Kurtz, candidate for Constable's Office Precinct 2, which is on the east side of the county. I have 38 years experience in law enforcement. I retired after 30 years in Dallas County. The man I work for now is Constable Edwards, and he called me 8 years ago. He asked me to come over and come and work for him. He's a great man. Not only is he a great man, he's a personal friend of mine. I got some big shoes to fill, but he's endorsed me to run for this, and I'm gonna do the best I can. And also, he's the treasurer of my campaign. So I'll do the best I can. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dwayne. So I'd like to have a special, actually kind of a sad announcement. Richard, would you come and talk about a couple of passing, a couple of our.
Ladies and gentlemen, really, this past week, we lost two of our outstanding community leaders, county leaders. Past mayor, Plano Ryan Binkley, a member of this club, and we all miss him. And we thank you for his contributions to our county. Number two is Judge Sandoval. Judge Sandoval, one of them, outstanding on the bench for 12 years. Where's George? And he's left, but he served on the bench for 12 years. But Sandoval was one of the top soldiers in a hard stuff in Vietnam. Now help me, Judge. He received the first 30 way.
Bronze Star with Valor.
Huh?
Bronze Star with Valor.
Valor, okay? And one of the distinct acknowledgements for his courage and outstanding service. And lovely family, and we'll all miss him. Thank you very much.
Any other final comments or announcements that anybody has? Because we're gonna get ready to go right into our raffle giveaway. And I would like to ask Bridget if you'd like to come forward, and we're gonna have you draw that. Make sure every single person, Ryan, you too, I hope you have your red ticket. Where is that thing? All right, there you go. So come forward, Bridget. We're gonna pull out, we're gonna have a drawing, and we actually have a couple of men's club t-shirts out there that were different sizes that you're going to have a choice. So this first drawing is gonna be for one of those t-shirts. That's probably the top prize of all you could possibly get, is wearing a men's club t-shirt, right? So why don't you read off that number?
All right. 8905144.
144. We have another t-shirt we'd like to give out.
8905156.
Last two numbers are 56.
Close.
I think that must have been Terry Wade who had to leave early. So we'll better draw another one. You gotta be present to win.
8905136.
136. Hey, we have a winner right there. Very nice. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have two different final items. We have this autograph hat of perhaps the next President of the United States. Never know, right? And we also have a $25 gift card to for a nice lunch at either Outback, Carrabba's, Bonefish Grill, or Fleming's Restaurant. So we'll let you have your choice. The first person will get their choice, and then we'll have another drawing for the second.
Okay, 8905147.
147. You draw one more. You ready to do it?
All right.
We'll get the hat.
Oh,
Yeah. He's about to either be nice or he's not.
Okay, next one's 8905164.
164. Oh, right over here.
Oh,
You gotta come and get it, Paul. That's you.
Gotta do it. We trust you.
Call for a recount.
All right, thank you, Bridget. How about a round of our for Bridget? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna be it for tonight. Remember, the third Thursday of every month is your Collin County Republican Men's Club meeting right here at the headquarters of the Collin County Republican Party. Thank you. Good evening.